Before we descend into the deepest caves beneath Mount Shasta, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you believe in ancient civilizations. Hit that like button if underground mysteries terrify you. Subscribe for more real military encounters that the government doesn't want you to know about. Now let's go underground. My name is Petty Officer First Class Jake Morrison, Navy SEAL Team 7. What I'm about to tell you violates every non-disclosure agreement I signed, every oath I took, and probably every national security law on the books. But 6 men died in the caves beneath Mount Shasta, California, and the official story, training accident, cave-in, tragic loss of life, is a complete fabrication. The truth is so much worse. This happened in November 2022. I was 29 years old, 8 years in the teams, veteran of deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq. I'd seen combat, I'd seen death. I thought I understood what humans were capable of in extreme situations, but I'd never encountered something that wasn't entirely human. It started with missing scientists. 3 researchers from UC Berkeley's geology department had been conducting studies in the Mount Shasta cave systems, mapping previously unexplored tunnels, taking rock samples, standard academic work. They'd been reporting back regularly until November 8th, when communication stopped. The university waited 48 hours, then contacted local search and rescue. SAR teams found the scientists' base camp at the cave entrance, equipment intact, but no sign of the researchers themselves. Their last radio transmission mentioned finding architectural structures deep in the cave system. Then nothing. When civilian SAR couldn't locate them after 5 days of searching, and when their radio silence extended into the deep cave network where communication was impossible, someone higher up the chain decided this needed military intervention. Not because 3 missing geology professors warranted a SEAL team response, but because of where they'd gone missing. Mount Shasta has a reputation. Not just as a beautiful 14,000-foot dormant volcano in Northern California, but as a hotspot for paranormal activity, UFO sightings, and legends about underground civilizations. The local Native American tribes, particularly the Karuk people, have stories about the mountain that go back thousands of years. Stories about the ones who live beneath. Stories about entire cities hidden in the mountain's core. Most people dismiss it as folklore. New Age mythology. Tourist trap nonsense. The Department of Defense apparently didn't. We got the briefing on November 15th at Naval Air Station Lemoore. Commander Rick Matthews laid out the mission parameters for our 8-man team. Gentlemen, this is officially a search and rescue operation. 3 civilian scientists missing for 7 days in the Mount Shasta cave network. Your objective is to locate them, determine their status, and extract them if possible. Lieutenant Jake Cordova, our team leader, asked the obvious question. Sir, with all respect, why are SEALs being tasked with a cave rescue? That's not our specialty. Matthews pulled up a satellite image of Mount Shasta. Because the cave system they entered has some unique characteristics. According to ground-penetrating radar, there are massive caverns beneath the mountain, some as large as football stadiums. The geology doesn't match natural cave formation. Someone or something excavated these spaces. Someone? I said. You mean the scientists found man-made structures? Their last transmission mentioned architectural features inconsistent with natural formation. That's all we have. After that, they went deep enough that radio couldn't penetrate the rock. Doc Martinez, our medic, leaned forward. What do the locals say about these caves? Matthews hesitated. The Karuk tribe considers the deep caves sacred and forbidden. They have legends about an ancient race that lives inside the mountain. They call them the Lost Ones, or sometimes the Watchers. According to tribal history, legends, Cordova said flatly. We're going into a cave system based on Native American folklore. You're going into a cave system to find 3 missing Americans, Matthews corrected. The folklore is just context. The Karuk refuse to enter the deep caves. Local guides won't go past the first chamber. That's why we need you. He distributed tactical folders. Your team will include Lieutenant Cordova as team leader, Petty Officers Morrison, Chen, Davis, Williams, Rodriguez, and Hassan. Morrison, your second in command and primary navigator. Chen, you're our medic. Davis handles communications. Williams is demolitions. Rodriguez is our marksman. Hassan is breacher and close quarters specialist. 8 SEALs for 3 scientists, Rodriguez muttered. This is overkill. Hopefully, Matthews said. But if those scientists found something down there, something that made them disappear, I want you equipped to handle it. Full tactical loadout, night vision, climbing gear, 7 days of supplies. You go in, you find them, you come out. We deployed the next day. Mount Shasta in November is beautiful and hostile. Snow-covered peaks, dense forests, temperatures dropping below freezing at night. We established base camp at the cave entrance on November 16th, about 8,000 feet up the mountain's southern slope. Before we entered the cave system, a Karuk elder named Joseph Two Hawks approached our camp. He was maybe 70 years old, weathered face, traditional clothing mixed with modern gear against the cold. You're the military men going into the mountain, he said. It wasn't a question. Cordova stepped forward. Yes, sir. We're here to find the missing scientists. Two Hawks shook his head slowly. The lost ones have already found them. You won't bring them back. Mr. Two Hawks, with respect, we're trained for this. We'll locate your missing researchers and they're not my researchers, Two Hawks interrupted. And they're not missing. They went where they shouldn't go. They woke something that should stay sleeping. Now you're following them down. He looked at each of us in turn. My people have known about the Watchers for 10,000 years. We made an agreement with them long ago. They stay in their world, we stay in ours. The deep caves are their world. What are the Watchers? I asked. Two Hawks' expression was troubled. The old stories say they were here before us. Not from this world originally, but they've been inside the mountain longer than humans have walked this land. They're tall, pale, like cave fish, eyes that glow blue like ice. And they can touch your mind, make you see things, make you do things, make you forget who you are. Mind control, Chen said skeptically. You're saying there are mind-controlling creatures in the caves. I'm saying there are beings in the deep places that don't think like you, don't want what you want. They've lived in darkness so long they can't remember the sun, and they don't like visitors. Cordova's patience was wearing thin. Sir, we appreciate the warning, but we have a mission. We're going to find those scientists. Two Hawks reached into his jacket and pulled out something, a small carved stone pendant on a leather cord. Then take this. My grandfather gave it to me. He said it protects against the mind touch. I don't know if it works, but if the Watchers try to get inside your head, maybe it helps. He tried to hand it to Cordova, but the lieutenant shook his head. We don't need... I'll take it, I said, stepping forward. Something about the old man's eyes made me believe him, or at least made me unwilling to dismiss him completely. I took the pendant and put it around my neck. It was cool stone, carved with symbols I didn't recognize. Two Hawks nodded. When you hear them calling to you, remember who you are. Remember your name. Remember the sun. Don't forget these things. Then he left, walking back down the mountain trail without another word. That was creepy as hell, Davis said. That was a scared old man trying to keep us from going into his sacred cave, Cordova replied. Ignore it. We've got a job to do. But I kept the pendant on. We entered the cave system at 1400 hours on November 16th. The entrance was a natural opening, maybe 12 feet high and 20 feet wide, leading into the mountain. The scientists' base camp was set up just inside. Tents, equipment, research materials, everything was in order, like they'd just stepped out for a moment and never came back. Their gear's all here, Chen observed, checking the tents. Sleeping bags, food, personal items. They didn't pack up to leave, they just left. Williams found their research notes. Last entry is November 8th, 1100 hours. Listen to this. Discovered entrance to major cavern system approximately 2 kilometers into main tunnel. Initial survey reveals architectural features, carved pillars, geometric patterns, possible writing system on walls. This is unprecedented. Continuing deeper for full documentation. That's it, nothing after that. 2 kilometers in, Cordova said, checking his tactical map. That's our first waypoint. Gear up, night vision on, weapons ready, standard cave tactics, stay together, watch for unstable rock, mark our path. Let's move. We descended into the darkness. The first section of cave was natural formation, limestone corridors carved by ancient water flow, stalactites and stalagmites, the usual cave features. We marked our route with chemical light sticks every 50 meters, creating a trail of green glow back to the entrance. Our night vision turned everything into shades of green. The cave walls were rough, jagged, exactly what you'd expect. Nothing unusual. Until we reached the 2-kilometer mark. The natural cave suddenly opened into something else entirely. Jesus Christ, Rodriguez whispered. We were standing at the edge of a massive chamber. Our lights barely reached the far walls. It had to be at least 200 meters across, maybe 50 meters high. But it wasn't the size that stopped us cold. It was what was inside. Pillars, dozens of them, carved from the living rock, rising from floor to ceiling. Not crude pillars, precisely engineered, perfectly cylindrical, covered in intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and move in our night vision. Between the pillars were walls, partial structures, the remains of buildings that had been carved directly into the stone. This is man-made, Chen said, moving closer to one of the pillars. Or something made. These patterns. They're too precise, too mathematical. I touched one of the carved walls. The surface was smooth, almost polished. The geometric patterns were carved in relief, creating a three-dimensional effect that was hypnotic to look at. Triangles within circles, within squares, repeating infinitely. And there were symbols. Not any language I recognized. They looked almost like Sanskrit mixed with circuit board diagrams. Flowing curves combined with hard angles and precise lines. This is what the scientists found, Cordova said, sweeping his light across the chamber. An underground city, or the ruins of one. How old is this? Davis asked. Older than anything in North America should be, Williams said. He was the team's geology enthusiast, always reading about rock formations and ancient history. Native Americans have been on this continent for maybe 15,000 years, tops. But this, he ran his hand over the carved stone. The weathering patterns, the oxidation, the way the rock has aged, this could be 50,000 years old, maybe more. That's impossible, Hassan said. Humans didn't have this kind of technology 50,000 years ago. Exactly, Williams replied quietly. We found the scientists' equipment scattered throughout the chamber. Cameras, sample cases, survey tools, But no bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle, just abandoned gear, like they'd put it down and walked away. They were documenting this place, Chen said, picking up a camera. Taking photos, measurements, then something made them stop. Or something made them leave, I added. Cordova checked his watch. 16:30 hours. We've got maybe 90 minutes of daylight left outside, which means nothing in here, but I want to establish a base camp in this chamber before full dark. We search the perimeter, look for any sign of the scientists, then regroup and plan our next move. We split into pairs and spread out through the chamber. I partnered with Rodriguez, and we took the eastern quadrant. That's when I found the first body. It wasn't one of the scientists. It was old, very old, mummified by the dry cave air, slumped against one of the pillars in a sitting position, but it wasn't human. "Rodriguez," I called quietly. "You need to see this." He came over, raised his light, and froze. "What the hell is that?" The corpse was tall, maybe 7.5 feet, even seated. The limbs were elongated, too long in proportion to the torso. The skull was hairless, smooth, with large eye sockets that would have held eyes twice the size of human eyes. The skin, what remained of it, was pale white, almost translucent. And it was wearing clothes, or what had been clothes. Fabric that had deteriorated to threads, but you could still see the craftsmanship. Woven material with those same geometric patterns. "This is one of them," Rodriguez whispered. "One of the Watchers. 2 Hawks was telling the truth." I activated my radio. "Cordova, Morrison here. You need to see this. Eastern quadrant, 3rd pillar from the wall." The team converged on our position. 8 Navy SEALs, trained for combat in the most hostile environments on Earth, standing in a circle around a 7-foot mummified humanoid that shouldn't exist. "What are we looking at?" Cordova asked. "Evidence of a non-human intelligence," William said. He was circling the corpse, examining it from every angle. "The skull structure is wrong for any hominid species we know about. The proportions are all off, and these clothes, that's advanced weaving, sophisticated culture. This is why they sent SEALs," Davis said slowly. "Command knew. They knew there was something down here that wasn't in any textbook." Chen was examining the corpse's hands. 4 fingers, longer than human fingers, with what looked like an extra joint. "This individual has been dead for a very long time. Centuries, maybe millennia. But if there was one, there might be more," I finished. "Maybe still alive." We searched the rest of the chamber. Found 3 more bodies. All similar, tall, elongated, pale, those massive eye sockets. All ancient. All sitting or lying in positions that suggested they'd simply stopped moving and never started again. But we didn't find the scientists. "They went deeper," Cordova decided. "They found this chamber, documented it, then kept exploring. We follow their trail." At the far end of the chamber, beyond the pillars and ruined structures, was a tunnel. Not natural, like the entrance cave. This was perfectly circular, exactly 8 feet in diameter, carved with geometric precision into the solid rock. The walls were covered in those strange symbols, and in the beam of our lights, they almost seemed to glow faintly blue. "That's our route," Cordova said. "But we camp here tonight. Get some rest. Fresh start in the morning when we're sharp." We established camp among the pillars, setting up our sleeping positions in a defensive circle. Hassan took first watch while the rest of us tried to sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that mummified corpse. Those huge eye sockets. Those 2 long fingers. 2 Hawks' words kept echoing in my head. They can touch your mind, make you see things, make you forget who you are. I touched the stone pendant around my neck, just a carved rock on a leather cord, probably meaningless. But I kept it on anyway. At 0200 hours, Hassan woke us all up. "Something's wrong," he said quietly. "I've been hearing sounds. From the tunnel, like voices, but not English. Not any language I recognize." We all went silent, listening, and there it was. Faint, distant, echoing up from the circular tunnel. Not quite singing, not quite chanting. Harmonic tones that seemed to bypass my ears and resonate directly in my skull. Beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "What language is that?" Chen whispered. "It's not human," William said. "The frequency, the tonal patterns, that's not human vocal cords." The sound continued for maybe 30 seconds, then stopped, absolute silence. "Could be the scientists," Davis suggested. "Maybe they're deeper in, calling for help." "That didn't sound like a distress call," Rodriguez said. Cordova made the decision. "We maintain watch rotation. If we hear it again, we note the time and direction. But we don't investigate until daylight. Well, until morning hours. Get some rest, people. Tomorrow, we go deeper." But none of us slept much that night. Because every few hours, the sounds would return. Those harmonic, inhuman voices echoing up from the depths beneath Mount Shasta. And each time they came, they sounded a little closer. We descended into the circular tunnel at 0800 hours on November 17th. 8 seals walking into a perfectly carved passage that shouldn't exist, following a trail left by 3 scientists who'd vanished without a trace. The tunnel was unnaturally precise, 8 feet in diameter, perfectly circular, walls so smooth they looked machined rather than carved. Our boots echoed on the stone floor in a rhythmic pattern that seemed to get picked up and repeated by the tunnel itself, creating an acoustic effect that was disorienting. "These walls," William said, running his gloved hand along the surface, "there are no tool marks, no chisel patterns. It's like someone melted the rock and then smoothed it. But that would require temperatures that would have destroyed the surrounding stone structure." "Maybe they had technology we don't understand," I suggested. "Or maybe they weren't using technology at all," Chen added. "Some of the old legends talk about beings who could manipulate rock with their minds. Psychic engineering." "Let's stick to what we can verify," Cordova said sharply. "We're here to find missing scientists, not chase mystical theories." But I noticed he kept glancing at the symbols carved into the walls, those geometric patterns that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. The tunnel descended at a steady angle, maybe 15 degrees, spiraling deeper into the mountain. We'd been walking for 2 hours when Hassan stopped suddenly. "Sir, my compass is going crazy." We all checked our navigation equipment. The compasses were spinning wildly, unable to find magnetic north. Our GPS units showed error messages. "We're too deep," Davis said, checking his communication gear. "Radio's dead, no satellite signal, we're completely cut off." "Which means the scientists were too," I said. "When they went this deep, they couldn't call for help even if they wanted to." Cordova checked our marked trail. We'd been leaving chemical light sticks every 50 meters, creating a glowing path back to the surface. "We keep descending for another hour. If we don't find anything, we return to the main chamber and reassess." We found something at the 53-minute mark. The circular tunnel opened into a cavern so massive our lights couldn't find the far walls. But this wasn't empty space. This was a city, not ruins. A living city. Active. Occupied. "Holy Mother of God," Rodriguez whispered. Buildings carved from luminescent crystal rose hundreds of feet into the darkness. not built, grown, like enormous geodes sprouting from the cavern floor. They glowed with a soft blue-white light that pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Between the buildings were streets, plazas, structures that looked like fountains or monuments, all carved from that same glowing crystal. And there was sound, that harmonic singing we'd heard last night, but much louder now. It resonated through the entire cavern, making the air itself vibrate. "The light," Chen said, staring at the glowing crystals. "It's bioluminescent, or some kind of piezoelectric effect. The crystals are generating light from, I don't even know. Pressure? Vibration?" Williams was scanning the cavern with his rangefinder. "This space is enormous. I'm reading distances of over 1 kilometer in some directions, and the ceiling, I can't even get a reading. It's too high." "How is any of this possible?" Hussey asked. "We're inside a mountain. This space shouldn't exist." "Shouldn't is a word we should stop using," I said. Cordova pulled us into a tactical formation. "Whatever this place is, we're not here to study it. We're here to find 3 scientists. They would have seen this city too. They would have explored it. We search systematically, stay together, watch each other's backs. Clear? Clear." We moved into the city. Up close, the crystal structures were even more incredible. The buildings weren't just glowing, they had patterns inside them, geometric designs that moved and shifted like living circuit boards. Some of the crystals were clear, others were cloudy, and a few were so bright they hurt to look at directly. "This is technology," Davis said, examining one of the smaller structures. "Advanced technology disguised as crystal formations, or maybe technology based on crystal matrices instead of silicon chips, like living computers." Hassan found the first sign of the scientists. A backpack propped against one of the glowing pillars. Inside, research notes, a camera, sample containers. "This belonged to Dr. Sarah Chen," Williams said, reading the name tag. "One of the missing geologists." I checked the camera. The battery was dead, but the memory card was intact. "We can extract the photos when we get back topside. This might show us where they went." "If they went anywhere willingly," Rodriguez muttered. He was scanning the surrounding area with his weapon raised. "I don't like this place. It feels occupied, like we're being watched." I felt it, too. That sensation of eyes on the back of your neck. But every time I turned to look, there was nothing. Just the glowing crystal buildings and the empty streets. "Keep moving," Cordova ordered. "Find the other 2 scientists' gear. That'll tell us their direction of travel." We found Dr. Michael Torres's equipment maybe 200 meters deeper into the city. His backpack, his tablet, his climbing gear, all neatly arranged on the ground, like he'd carefully placed them there and walked away. "This is deliberate," Chen said. "They're not dropping gear as they flee. They're leaving it behind, like they don't need it anymore. Or like something made them not need it," I said. We found Dr. Jennifer Zhao's gear at what appeared to be the city center, a massive plaza surrounded by the tallest crystal structures. In the middle of the plaza was a monument or altar of some kind, a platform carved from solid crystal, with those geometric symbols covering every surface. And on the platform were the 3 scientists. They were alive. They were sitting in a circle around the crystal platform, facing outward, completely motionless. Their eyes were open, their breathing was steady. But they didn't react when we approached. Didn't blink. Didn't acknowledge our presence. "Dr. Chen?" Cordova called out. "Dr. Torres? Dr. Zhao, can you hear me?" No response. Chen, our medic, moved forward to check them. Vitals are normal. Pulse, breathing, everything seems fine. But they're not responding to external stimuli. It's like they're catatonic. Or like they're somewhere else, Martinez said quietly. Their bodies are here, but their minds aren't. I looked at the crystal platform the scientists were arranged around. The symbols on its surface were glowing brighter than the other crystals, pulsing in a pattern that seemed almost like a heartbeat, or a signal. We need to get them out of here, Cordova decided. Hassan, Rodriguez, grabbed Darchen. Davis, Williams, you've got Torres. Martinez and Morrison, you're on Zhao. We carry them if we have to. Hassan and Rodriguez moved to lift Dr. Chen. The moment they touched her, two things happened. First, she screamed, a sound of pure terror that echoed through the entire cavern. Second, the Crystal City came alive. All around us, the glowing buildings suddenly blazed with blinding light. The harmonic singing increased in volume until it was painful. And from the crystal structures emerged figures, tall, pale, eyes that glowed ice blue in the darkness. The Lemurians, the Watchers, the Lost Ones. They weren't dead, they weren't extinct. They were very much alive, and they were angry. The closest Lemurian moved with impossible speed. One moment it was 30 meters away, the next it was right in front of Hassan, reaching out with those two long fingers. Hassan raised his weapon and fired. 3 shots, center mass. The bullets passed through the Lemurian like it wasn't there, like it was made of smoke and light. Then the creature touched Hassan's forehead with one finger. Hassan's eyes rolled back. His weapon clattered to the ground. He stood perfectly still, swaying slightly, and then began to walk toward the crystal platform where the scientists sat. "Hassan!" Cordova yelled. "Stand down! That's an order!" But Hassan didn't stop. He walked like a puppet on strings, moving to the platform and sitting down next to Dr. Zhao, assuming the same motionless posture. "They're taking him," Chen said, horrified. "They're doing to him what they did to the scientists." More Lemurians were emerging from the crystal structures. I counted at least 20, tall, pale, glowing, moving through the cavern with that same impossible speed. "Fall back," Cordova ordered. "Defensive formation. Back to the tunnel." We ran. The Lemurians didn't chase us in any normal sense. They would appear ahead of us, blocking our path, forcing us to change direction, herding us like sheep. And the whole time that harmonic singing was getting louder, more insistent, almost hypnotic. I felt something trying to push into my mind, like fingers made of thought, probing my consciousness, trying to find a way in. The sensation was nauseating, invasive, wrong. My hand went to the pendant around my neck, 2 Hawks' protection charm. The moment I touched it, the mental pressure eased slightly. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. Davis suddenly stopped running. "Wait, where are we going?" "Back to the tunnel," I said. "Back to the surface." "No." Davis's voice sounded distant, dreamy. "We should stay. This place is beautiful. We should stay here and learn from them." Cordova grabbed Davis by the shoulder. "Davis, snap out of it." But Davis pulled away. His eyes had gone glassy, unfocused. "They're not enemies. They're teachers. They want to show us things. I can hear them. Can't you hear them?" "They're in his head," Chen said. "Whatever these things are, they're telepathic. They're taking control." 3 Lemurians appeared directly in front of Davis. He walked toward them without hesitation, smiling. Reached out his hands like greeting old friends. They touched his forehead, and he stopped moving, became a statue, then began walking back toward the crystal platform. "Davis!" Cordova screamed. But Davis was gone. His body was still functioning, but whatever made him Davis, his personality, his will, his self, had been taken. We were down to 6. Morrison, Cordova, Williams, Rodriguez, Martinez, and Chen. Hassan and Davis were lost to the telepathic control. 3 scientists were already gone, 8 people under Lemurian influence. "Keep moving," I yelled. "Don't let them get close. Don't let them touch you." We ran through the Crystal City, the glowing buildings creating a maze of light and shadow. The Lemurians followed, always just at the edge of our vision. Not attacking directly, just herding, guiding, controlling our path. Chen was falling behind. Martinez grabbed her arm. "Stay with us." "I can hear them," Chen gasped. "They're speaking, not in words, in emotions, in images. They're showing me." She stopped running, eyes wide. "They're showing me Earth, millions of years ago. They were here first, before humans. This was their world." "Chen, focus." I grabbed her other arm. "We need to keep moving." "They're lonely," Chen whispered. "They've been alone so long. They just want company. They want us to stay, to join them, to become like them." Her eyes were starting to glaze over, the same expression Davis and Hessen had shown. Martinez slapped her hard. "Chen, remember your training. Remember who you are." But it was too late. Chen pulled away from both of us and walked toward the nearest Lemurian with that same dreamy expression. "It's okay. They won't hurt us. They just want to share consciousness, to merge minds, to—" The Lemurian touched her forehead. Chen stopped mid-sentence, smiled peacefully, turned and walked back toward the crystal platform with the others. 3 SEALs lost, 3 scientists lost, 6 minds stolen. "Run!" Cordova yelled. We ran. 5 of us now. Cordova, Williams, Rodriguez, Martinez, and me. 5 SEALs trying to escape from beings that could control minds with a touch. We burst out of the Crystal City back into the circular tunnel. Behind us, the Lemurians stood at the entrance, watching. Not following. Not yet. "Why aren't they chasing us?" Rodriguez panted. "Because they don't need to," I said. "They're patient. They've waited millions of years. They can wait for us to come back." "Or for us to go crazy trying to escape," Williams added. "The mental pressure. Can anyone else feel it? Like something pressing on your skull from the inside?" We all felt it. The telepathic influence trying to worm its way into our minds, whispering that we should go back, that the Crystal City was safe. Beautiful, home. "Keep moving," Cordova ordered. "Follow the light sticks, get back to the main chamber. We regroup and figure out extraction." We climbed through the tunnel, following our marked trail. But something was wrong. The chemical light sticks were in the wrong positions. Or there were too many of them, or the tunnel itself had changed. "This isn't right," Martinez said. "We should have reached the main chamber by now." "We're still ascending," Williams argued. "Same slope as before, same tunnel dimensions." "But we've been climbing for an hour," I said. "It only took us 53 minutes to descend." Rodriguez checked his watch, then checked it again. "My watch says we've been climbing for 15 minutes. We all looked at our watches. Different times on each one. 09:45, 11:30. 08:23, 14:07. Time was breaking down. "The telepathic influence," Williams said. "It's affecting our perception. We can't trust what we see or hear." "Then how do we know which way is out?" Martinez asked. That's when we heard the voices behind us. Hassan, Davis, Chen. All 3 of them walking up the tunnel toward us, still moving in that puppet-like way, eyes glassy and distant. But they were speaking. In perfect unison, in a language that wasn't English but somehow I could understand. "You cannot leave. This mountain is ours. You have trespassed. You must join. Become one. Become us. The voices weren't coming from Hassan, Davis, and Chen's mouths. The voices were coming from inside our heads. Don't listen to them, Cordova said, raising his weapon. They're not our teammates anymore. They're puppets. We can free them, Martinez said desperately. There has to be a way to break the control. There isn't, I said quietly. I touched the pendant around my neck again, and in that moment of clarity, I understood. They're gone. Their consciousness has been absorbed into the Lemurian collective. What's left are just shells, biological vessels under alien control. The 3 puppet seals continued walking toward us. Their weapons were gone. They didn't need weapons. The Lemurians had a better weapon than bullets. They had our friends' faces, our friends' voices, our trust. Last chance to go back, the collective voice said through Hassan's mouth. Join willingly. It's painless, beautiful. You'll see everything, know everything, be part of something greater than yourself. Cordova's weapon was shaking. He couldn't shoot Hassan. None of us could, which is exactly what the Lemurians were counting on. Williams made the decision for us. He pulled a flashbang grenade from his vest and threw it. Close your eyes! The grenade detonated with blinding light and deafening noise in the confined tunnel. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Cordova yelling, Go! 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 We ran past the disoriented puppet seals, deeper into the tunnel, following our marked trail. But I looked back once, just once. Hassan, Davis, and Chen were standing perfectly still in the aftermath of the flashbang, not covering their ears, not blinking from the light, just standing there, watching us flee with those dead, glassy eyes. And smiling, we ran until our lungs burned and our legs gave out. When we finally stopped, we were in a section of tunnel I didn't recognize. No light sticks, no markings. Lost. Head count, Cordova gasped. Morrison? Here. Williams? Here. Rodriguez? Here. Martinez? Silence. We looked at each other. There were only 4 of us. Martinez was gone. I hadn't seen him disappear, hadn't heard him fall behind. One moment he was running with us, the next moment he wasn't. The Lemurians had taken another one. 4 seals left, 3 controlled, 8 people total under Lemurian influence. And we were still trapped inside Mount Shasta, with beings that could steal your mind with a touch. We need a new plan, I said. Cordova's face was pale in our tactical lights. We need to get out of this mountain before there's nobody left to save. But I was starting to wonder if any of us were going to make it out at all. We were lost in the tunnels beneath Mount Shasta with 4 Navy SEALs and 3 scientists under alien mind control, and no idea which direction led to the surface. Cordova tried the radio again, knowing it was futile. Porter, this is SEAL Team 7. If anyone can hear this, we are in emergency situation. Repeat, emergency, multiple casualties, requesting immediate extraction. Static, just like the last 50 times he'd tried. We're too deep, Williams said. He was studying the tunnel walls with his flashlight, looking for any landmark we might recognize. Rock, this dense signal penetration is impossible. We're on our own. Rodriguez was keeping watch down the tunnel behind us, weapon raised. Question is, are we alone? Or did those things follow us? I touched the pendant around my neck again. The mental pressure had eased when we'd put distance between ourselves and the Crystal City, but it was still there. A constant background whisper in my thoughts, urging me to go back, to give up resistance, to join the collective. They don't need to follow us physically, I said. They're still in our heads. Can you feel it? That pull to return? Williams nodded grimly. Like a song you can't get out of your head, except this song is telling you to surrender your consciousness to a telepathic hive mind. We need to keep moving, Cordova decided. Even if we're lost, standing still means they find us. We ascend. Any tunnel that goes up, we take it. Eventually, we hit the surface or the main chamber. And what about the others? Rodriguez asked. Hassan, Davis, Chen, Martinez, the scientists, we're just abandoning them? They're not our teammates anymore, Cordova said, and I could hear the pain in his voice. Whatever those Lemurians did to them, it's not reversible. We tried to help. We got 3 more people taken. We can't save them. We can only save ourselves. It was the right call. The only call, but it felt like failure. We chose a tunnel that seemed to ascend and started climbing. Our tactical lights carved narrow cones of visibility in the absolute darkness. Beyond our lights, anything could be waiting. After 30 minutes of climbing, Rodriguez stopped suddenly. Do you hear that? We all froze, listening. Footsteps, multiple sets, coming from the tunnel behind us, moving fast. They're coming, Williams whispered. Defensive position, Cordova ordered. Weapons ready. Morrison, Rodriguez, rear guard. Williams, you're with me up front. Whatever comes through that tunnel, we hold this position. We formed a line across the tunnel, weapons aimed back the way we'd come. My heart was hammering. In normal combat, I knew what to expect. Enemy combatants. Weapons fire, explosions. This was different. This was our own teammates, controlled by alien intelligence, hunting us through the darkness beneath a mountain. The footsteps got louder, closer. Then they appeared at the edge of our lights. Hassan, Davis, Chen, and Martinez moving in perfect formation, like a military unit. But their movements were too synchronized, too precise, like they were being controlled by a single mind. Behind them were the 3 scientists, and behind them, 3 Lemurians. Tall, pale figures that seemed to glow faintly blue in the darkness. Stand down, Cordova shouted. Hassan, if you can hear me, fight it. Remember your training. Hassan's mouth opened, but the voice that came out wasn't his. It was that collective voice we'd heard before. Ancient, layered with harmonics that shouldn't come from human vocal cords. Your companions are ours now. Their consciousness serves a greater purpose. Join them. The merging is inevitable. Resistance causes only suffering. What do you want? I yelled at the Lemurians. Why are you doing this? The Lemurian in front tilted its head. The movement was bird-like, inhuman, its ice-blue eyes fixed on me, and I felt that mental pressure increase exponentially, like someone driving a spike into my skull. We are the first. We walked this world before your kind existed. We built civilizations while your ancestors were single-celled organisms in warm seas. This mountain is our sanctuary, our last refuge. You surface dwellers multiply and spread like disease. You poison the air, destroy the forests, corrupt the earth. You are the infection. We are the cure. The voice wasn't coming from the Lemurian's mouth. It was broadcasting directly into our minds. And with the words came images, visions of Earth millions of years ago, covered in cities of crystal and light. Then the cataclysm, whatever it was that drove the Lemurians underground, and the long, lonely ages waiting in the dark while humanity rose above them. We don't want your mountain, William said. We just want our people back. Let them go. They are more free now than they ever were in flesh prisons constrained by individual consciousness. They are part of us. They see what we see, know what we know. They have transcended. They're slaves, Rodriguez spat. You've turned them into puppets. You do not understand. We offer apotheosis, evolution beyond meat. Your companions have chosen wisdom. You choose ignorance. They didn't choose anything, Cordova yelled. You forced them. The Lemurian's expression didn't change, but I felt amusement radiating from its mind. Choice is illusion. Free will is illusion. All consciousness inevitably flows toward unity. We simply accelerate the process. Then Hassan moved. Fast. Combat-trained speed, muscle memory still intact despite the telepathic control. He closed the distance to Cordova in 2 seconds, hands reaching for the lieutenant's weapon. Cordova tried to block, but Hassan was faster. They grappled, and Hassan was fighting with inhuman strength. Not his own strength, the Lemurians were enhancing him somehow, pushing his body beyond normal human limits. "Don't hurt him," Rodriguez yelled. "That's still Hassan." But Hassan's eyes were completely empty. Whatever made him Hassan was gone. This was just a weapon wearing his face. Davis and Chen rushed Williams and me simultaneously. I managed to sidestep Chen's grab, but Davis tackled me, and we went down hard on the stone floor. His hands went for my throat, squeezing with mechanical precision. No anger. No emotion. Just programmed execution. I couldn't bring myself to hurt him. This was my teammate, my friend, but he was trying to kill me with cold efficiency. My vision was going dark. Davis's grip was cutting off blood flow to my brain. In maybe 10 seconds, I'd pass out. Then the Lemurians would take me too. My hand found the pendant around my neck. 2 Hawks' protection charm. Without thinking, I ripped it off and pressed it against Davis's forehead. Davis screamed, an actual scream, not the collective voice, but his voice, human, terrified. He released my throat and stumbled backward, clutching his head. "Morrison," he gasped. "Morrison, what's—" His eyes cleared for just a moment. Recognition, horror, understanding. Oh God, they're in my head. I can't fight them. They're too strong. Morrison, you have to run. You have to. Then his eyes glazed over again. The Lemurians reasserted control. Davis stood up slowly, mechanically, and reached for me again. But I'd seen it. For just a few seconds, the pendant had broken the telepathic hold. The Lemurians weren't invincible. Their control could be disrupted. I kicked Davis in the knee hard and rolled away. "The pendant," I yelled to the others. "It blocks them somehow. The Karuk charm." But I'd lost it in the struggle. The pendant was somewhere on the tunnel floor, and Davis was coming at me again. Williams had Chen in a headlock, trying to restrain her without causing injury. Martinez was working with Hassan to pin Rodriguez against the wall. And Cordova was on his knees. One of the Lemurians was standing directly in front of him, hand pressed against his forehead. The telepathic takeover was happening in real time. "No!" I lunged toward Cordova, but Hassan intercepted me. His punch caught me in the ribs, and I went down, gasping. Through blurred vision, I watched Cordova's face go slack. Expressionless. Empty. The Lemurian removed its hand, and Cordova stood up smoothly, turned to face us with those dead, glassy eyes. Lieutenant Jake Cordova was gone, our team leader, the man who'd guided us through a dozen missions, taken in seconds. "Fall back," Williams yelled. He'd managed to break free from Chen and was pulling Rodriguez with him. "Morrison, we can't fight them. We need to run." But I couldn't leave Cordova, couldn't accept that he was lost. Jake! I screamed. Fight it! Remember who you are! Cordova's mouth moved, but it was the collective voice again. He remembers. He knows. And he understands now. This is better. Peace, unity, belonging. You will understand too. Soon. The Lemurians were advancing, all three of them, and behind them, 7 controlled humans moving in perfect synchronization. Williams grabbed my arm and hauled me to my feet. We go now, or we all end up like them. Rodriguez was already running. Williams and I followed, sprinting up the tunnel while behind us the Lemurians and their puppets gave chase. We ran until our lungs burned and our legs felt like lead. The tunnel forked, and we went right without hesitation, anything to put distance between us and them. After what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes, we stopped in a small cavern to catch our breath. 3 of us left. Williams, Rodriguez, and me. Out of 8 SEALs and 3 scientists, only 3 remained free. We're not going to make it out, Rodriguez said flatly. He wasn't panicking, just stating what seemed like fact. They're faster than us, stronger, they can control minds. How do we fight that? The pendant worked, I said. For a few seconds, when I pressed it against Davis, it broke the control. He was himself again. But you lost it, Williams pointed out. But we know it's possible. The Carrick people have been living near this mountain for thousands of years. They know something we don't. That charm was made specifically to protect against the Lemurians. Great, Rodriguez said. Too bad we don't have it anymore. Williams was examining the cavern walls. Wait, look at this. He'd found more symbols, the same geometric patterns we'd seen in the Crystal City, carved into the natural stone. But these symbols were different somehow. Rougher, more organic. These aren't Lemurian, Williams said. These are Karuk, or Proto-Karuk, human markings. Around the symbols were drawings, primitive but clear. Humans fleeing from tall figures with glowing eyes. Humans with hands raised in a stopping gesture. And, most interesting, humans holding up stones carved with symbols, creating a barrier between themselves and the tall figures. This is how they've coexisted, I said. The Carrick made protective talismans, barriers, ways to shield their minds from Lemurian influence. That's the agreement Two Hawks talked about. Stay separate, don't trespass, and if you do encounter them, you protect yourself with sacred stones. Which we don't have, Rodriguez said, but we know what they look like. I pulled out my tactical knife and started carving into a piece of loose stone. The pattern on the pendant, I memorized it. Triangles within circles within squares, repeating fractal design. You think carving the symbol is enough? Williams asked skeptically. The Karuk believed it for 10,000 years. Worth a shot. I worked as fast as I could, scratching the geometric pattern into the stone. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't nearly as refined as Two Hawks' pendant, but it was close. When I finished, I held it up. Nothing's happening. Maybe it needs to be blessed or activated somehow, Rodriguez suggested. Or maybe we're wasting time, Williams said. They're coming. I can hear them. He was right, distant footsteps, echoing through the tunnels, getting closer. We can't outrun them forever, I said. Eventually, they'll catch us, and when they do, we end up like Cordova, like all of them. Williams checked his ammunition. Then we make our stand here, take as many of them down as we can before they take us. They're our teammates, Rodriguez protested. We can't just shoot. They're not our teammates anymore, Williams yelled. They're weapons. Biological drones controlled by hostile intelligence. And if we don't stop them, we join them. Is that what you want? To spend eternity as a puppet in some alien hive mind? Rodriguez looked torn. I knew how he felt. The idea of shooting Hassan or Davis or any of them was unthinkable. But the alternative, becoming like them, was worse. The footsteps were getting louder. They'd be here in minutes. "I have another idea," I said. I was looking at Williams's demolitions pack, the C4 charges he carried for breaching operations. "We can't fight them, we can't outrun them, but we can trap them." Williams understood immediately. "Cave in. We collapse the tunnel behind us." "Exactly. We seal them in the deep section. Then we find our way to the surface before they can dig through or find another route." "That's a lot of assumptions," Rodriguez said. "Assuming we can find the surface, assuming the collapse doesn't bring the whole mountain down on us, assuming they can't just telepathically force us to stop." "All terrible assumptions," I agreed. "But it's the only plan we've got." Williams was already setting charges. "We need a narrow section, structural weakness, somewhere the collapse will be effective." We moved through the cavern and back into the tunnels, searching for the right spot. The footsteps behind us were getting closer. We could hear voices now, our teammates' voices calling out to us. "Morrison, Williams, Rodriguez, where are you going? Come back. Don't run, it's better this way. Join us. Be part of something greater. No more fear, no more pain, just unity." The voices were almost hypnotic. I felt the pull again, the urge to stop running, to turn around, to accept what they were offering. But I gripped my crudely carved stone talisman and pushed back against the mental influence. Marginally effective, but better than nothing. Williams found the spot. A section of tunnel where the rock overhead showed natural fracture lines. He placed charges strategically, designed to bring down 1,000 tons of mountain and seal the passage. "This is it," he said. "Once I blow this, we commit. No going back for the others, no rescue attempt. We run for the surface or we die trying." I looked at Rodriguez. He nodded grimly. "Do it." Williams set the timer. 60 seconds. Run!" We sprinted up the tunnel. Behind us, I could see them. All 7 controlled humans and 3 Lemurians moving in perfect formation, chasing us with inhuman endurance. "Morrison!" That was Hassan's voice. "Don't do this. We can still save you." 30 seconds. "Williams, think about what you're doing. You're cutting yourself off from transcendence." 20 seconds. The Lemurians were accelerating, moving faster than humans should be able to move in confined space. 10 seconds. "Rodriguez, stop running and embrace evolution." 5 seconds. We rounded a corner just as the charges detonated. The explosion was massive in the confined space. The shockwave knocked us off our feet. Behind us, the tunnel collapsed with a roar like the end of the world. Thousands of tons of rock falling, sealing the passage, cutting off the Lemurians and their puppets from us. Dust filled the air, making it impossible to see or breathe. I pulled my shirt over my mouth and nose, coughing, disoriented. When the dust finally settled, we were alive. Bruised, deafened by the explosion, covered in rock dust, but alive. And on the other side of that collapsed tunnel were 7 humans and 3 Lemurians who wanted to turn us into telepathic slaves. William sat up, wincing. "Everyone okay?" "Define okay," Rodriguez muttered, checking himself for injuries. "Nothing broken, that's something." I stood up carefully. My ears were ringing from the explosion, but I could move. "We did it. We sealed them in." "For now," Williams said. "But if they can manipulate rock with their minds like the legends say, they might be able to dig through, or find another route. We need to get to the surface fast." We had no equipment except our weapons, our lights, and Williams' remaining explosives. No communication gear. That had been damaged in the explosion. No navigation equipment. No way to call for help. Just 3 SEALs, lost somewhere in the caves beneath Mount Shasta, trying to find daylight before the things in the darkness found us first. We climbed through the darkness for hours. No sense of time, no sense of direction, just the desperate hope that we were ascending toward the surface and not descending deeper into the mountain. Williams was navigating by feel, one hand on the tunnel wall, constantly checking the slope. As long as we're going up, we're moving toward the exit. Eventually, we hit either the main chamber or the entrance cave. Assuming the Lemurians didn't alter the tunnel structure with their mind powers, Rodriguez said. Not helping, Williams muttered. I was at the rear, watching our back trail. The explosion had sealed the tunnel, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the Lemurians were still following somehow, tracking us through the rock, waiting for the right moment to strike. My makeshift talisman, the crude symbol I'd carved into stone, was clutched in my hand. I didn't know if it was actually protecting me or if the placebo effect was strong enough that I believed it was. Either way, I kept holding it. After 3 hours of climbing, we found running water. A small stream flowing down the tunnel wall, clear and cold. This is good, William said, cupping his hands to drink. Water flows down. If we follow it backwards, uphill, it should lead us towards the surface source. We followed the stream. The tunnel gradually widened, becoming more natural in appearance. The perfectly carved walls gave way to rough limestone. The geometric symbols disappeared, replaced by normal cave formations. We're getting closer, I said. This looks like the entrance section, natural cave. Rodriguez was checking his watch. It's been 18 hours since we entered. The support team topside should be worried by now. Maybe they've sent rescue. Or maybe they declared us lost, Williams said. 18 hours underground with no communication. For all they know, we're dead. We're not dead yet, I said. Let's keep it that way. The tunnel opened into a familiar space, the main chamber, the place where we'd made camp on our first night, the place where we'd found the first mummified Lemurians. We made it, Rodriguez said, relief flooding his voice. This is the main chamber. The entrance is just 2 kilometers that way. We started moving faster, almost running now that we could see salvation ahead. The chemical light sticks we'd placed on our way in were still glowing faintly, marking the path to the surface. We were halfway across the chamber when Williams stopped suddenly. Do you hear that? I listened. Faint at first, then growing louder. That harmonic singing, the telepathic broadcast, coming from the tunnel behind us. They're through, Rodriguez whispered. They got past the collapse. They're coming. How is that possible? Williams demanded. I brought down 1,000 tons of rock. They've been manipulating stone for millions of years, I said. Maybe they can reshape it, move it, create passages through solid rock. The singing was getting louder, closer, and with it came that mental pressure, the urge to stop running, to turn around, to accept the inevitable. Run! Williams yelled. We sprinted across the main chamber toward the entrance tunnel. Behind us, figures emerged from the darkness. Our teammates, the scientists, the Lemurians, all moving in perfect formation, all singing that inhuman harmony. And in the lead was Cordova, our team leader, controlled by alien intelligence, hunting us through his own mission gone wrong. Morrison, Cordova's voice, but not his words. You cannot escape. Your resistance is futile. Join us. Become us. We hit the entrance tunnel at full speed. The natural limestone passage that led to the surface, to daylight, to freedom. 2 kilometers. We could make it. We had to make it. 1 kilometer in, Williams's legs gave out. He stumbled, caught himself, kept running, but he was slowing down. The 18 hours of running, fighting, and fear had taken their toll. "Keep going," he gasped. "I'm right behind you." But he wasn't. He was falling behind, and the Lemurians were gaining. "Williams, move your ass," Rodriguez yelled. "I'm trying. My legs. Something's wrong." I looked back and saw it. One of the Lemurians had extended its telepathic reach. It had Williams in its mental grip, slowing his movements, interfering with his motor control, turning his own body against him. "They're in his head," I said. "They're shutting him down." Williams collapsed, just fell to his knees in the middle of the tunnel. His expression was one of pure terror as he felt control of his body slipping away. "No," he gasped. "No, not like this. Not like—" His eyes glazed over. The Lemurian had him, but before the full takeover could complete, Williams did something I'll never forget. With what had to be his last moment of free will, he reached for the remaining C4 charges on his vest. "Go!" he yelled, his voice, his will, his choice. "Get out! I'll hold them!" "Williams, no!" I started back toward him. Rodriguez grabbed me. "He's giving us a chance. Don't waste it." Williams was fumbling with the detonator, fighting against the Lemurian control trying to stop his hands. "Tell my family. Tell them I died. In combat. Not like this. Not a puppet." The Lemurians and their controlled humans were 50 meters away. 40. 30. Williams's thumb found the trigger. "Semper Fi," he whispered. The explosion lit up the tunnel like the sun. The shockwave threw Rodriguez and me forward, tumbling us down the passage. Behind us, the entrance tunnel collapsed completely. Thousands of tons of rock sealing off the main chamber from the surface, sealing Williams in with them forever. Rodriguez and I lay on the stone floor, ears ringing, covered in dust, barely conscious. But we were on the right side of the collapse. Between us and the surface was maybe half a kilometer of clear tunnel. Between Williams and the surface were 500 meters of solid rock. "He did it," Rodriguez said numbly. "He trapped them, sealed them in." I couldn't speak, could barely process what had just happened. Petty Officer Marcus Williams, 8 years in the teams, had just chosen death over becoming a Lemurian puppet, had sacrificed himself to save us. "We need to move," Rodriguez said, pulling himself to his feet. "Before they dig through again, before—" "They won't," I said quietly. "Not this time." Williams used all the remaining C4. The collapse is catastrophic. It would take them years to clear that much rock, even with telepathic manipulation. "Then we won," Rodriguez said. "We escaped." "Williams won," I corrected. "We're just the survivors." We climbed the remaining distance to the entrance in silence. After 18 hours underground, daylight was blinding. Painful. Beautiful. We stumbled out of the cave entrance at 14:30 hours on November 17th. The support team was still at base camp. They'd been preparing a rescue operation, waiting for communication, debating whether to send in a second team. When they saw us, covered in dust and blood and rock debris, the camp erupted in activity. Medics, debriefing officers, command personnel demanding to know what happened. "Where's the rest of your team?" Commander Matthews asked. Rodriguez and I looked at each other. How do you explain what happened in those caves? How do you tell the truth without sounding insane? "Dead, sir," I said. "All dead. Cave-in. Structural collapse. We were the only ones who made it out." The scientists. "Dead, same cave-in." Matthews studied our faces. I think he knew we were lying, or at least not telling the whole truth. I need full debriefing, everything that happened down there. Yes, sir, but first, we need to seal that cave entrance permanently. Nothing can come out of there, ever. What are you talking about? Trust me, sir. Seal it. Collapse the entrance, make it inaccessible. Do it now. Something in my tone must have convinced him. Within 6 hours, a military engineering team had collapsed the cave entrance with controlled demolitions. Hundreds of tons of rock now blocked access to the tunnels beneath Mount Shasta. The official report was filed 3 days later. Training accident during cave rescue operation. Catastrophic structural collapse. 6 Navy SEALs killed in action. 3 civilian scientists confirmed deceased. 2 survivors. The bodies were never recovered. Officially, they were buried under tons of rock in an inaccessible cave system. The truth, that they were still alive, controlled by telepathic beings that had lived under Mount Shasta for millions of years, wasn't in any official report. Rodriguez and I were debriefed separately, interviewed by Navy intelligence, psychological evaluation, medical examination, and throughout it all, the same message. What happened in that cave is classified. You don't talk about it, ever. We both signed the non-disclosure agreements, accepted the official story, took our commendations for bravery in attempting to rescue the scientists, and we never spoke about it again. Not to each other, not to anyone. Until now. It's been 14 months since Operation Mount Shasta. Rodriguez left the team 6 months ago. Honorable discharge. Couldn't handle being underground anymore. I followed 3 months later. Same reason. We both have nightmares. Therapy helps, but it doesn't erase the memories. I still have the crude stone talisman I carved in those tunnels. It sits on my dresser, a reminder that some protections work, that some old wisdom is worth remembering. The Mount Shasta area has been declared off-limits for recreational caving. Geological instability, the Forest Service says. Risk of collapse. Armed park rangers patrol the area now, turning back hikers who get too curious. But people still see things. Locals report strange lights inside the mountain at night. Blue glows emanating from cracks in the rock. And sometimes, late at night, hikers claim to hear singing. Harmonic, inhuman, beautiful and terrible. The Carrick elders know what those lights mean. They know what the singing means. But they don't talk about it to outsiders. They made their agreement with the lost ones thousands of years ago. Stay in your world, we'll stay in ours. We broke that agreement. 8 people paid the price. Hassan, Davis, Chen, Martinez, Cordova, Williams, Dr. Sarah Chen, Dr. Michael Torres, Dr. Jennifer Zhao. All gone, their bodies still moving in those crystal caverns, controlled by beings that see humans as an infection to be absorbed or eliminated. I think about them every day, wonder if any part of them is still conscious, still aware, trapped inside their own bodies, watching helplessly as the Lemurians use them like puppets. Two Hawks was right. The deep caves are their world, not ours, and we should have listened. But here's what I need you to understand. They're still down there. The Lemurians, the Lost Ones, the Watchers. Call them what you want, they're real, and they're not alone under Mount Shasta. According to ground-penetrating radar that I've seen through military intelligence channels, there are similar cavern systems under at least a dozen other mountains across the western United States. Mount Hood, Mount Rainier, the Cascade Range, the Sierra Nevada. Anywhere there are legends about beings who live inside the mountains. Anywhere indigenous peoples have stories about the ones below. Those stories aren't myths, they're warnings. We've been sharing this planet with another intelligent species for longer than we've existed as a species. They were here first. They're patient. They remember when the continents were different shapes, when humans were just primates learning to walk upright. And they're waiting. The Navy sealed one entrance. But Mount Shasta is riddled with caves. Other ways in, other ways out. And sometimes, according to local reports, people go hiking in those mountains and come back. Different, quieter, more distant. Like something fundamental has changed about them. I'm writing this as a warning. If you're planning to explore caves and volcanic mountains, don't. If you see blue lights emanating from cracks in the rock, don't investigate. If you hear harmonic singing that doesn't sound human, run. Don't walk. Run. And if you encounter tall, pale beings with ice-blue eyes who speak directly into your mind, remember this. They're not gods, they're not aliens, they're the original inhabitants of this planet, and they see us the same way we see an invasive species. Something to be controlled, contained, or eliminated. The Karak people survived 10,000 years by respecting the boundaries, by staying out of the deep caves, by carrying protective talismans and remembering the old agreements. We didn't respect those boundaries. 8 people are gone because of it. Don't make the same mistake. The Lemurians are real, they're patient, and they're still beneath Mount Shasta, waiting in their crystal cities, singing their telepathic songs. Stay out of their world, or become part of it, forever.